Content warning. Cursing. The dream.
My name is Mallory. We are here in the change room at 7 Bays Bouldering. My dream sequence is over the course of a few months, I was having a lot of these dreams where I was getting married, which is really exciting for me because I've always been very excited about weddings. Ever since I was a kid, I was very into wanting to be a bride. More so than like wanting to marry anyone. I just really wanted to be a bride. I know that I will be a beautiful bride. I don't know anything else about this life. And so in these dreams, I was like really excited. I feel beautiful in my dress and I'm all set to walk down the aisle. And then in the process of walking down the aisle, I come to realize that I actually have no idea who this person is at the end of the aisle who I'm supposed to be marrying. And so I'm just like overcome with panic and anxiety, and like this walk down the aisle turns into this like I continue walking, but the aisle never really ends. Like it just keeps going and going. But then finally I reach it, and the person at the end of the aisle, he like doesn't like have a face. Like there's nothing there. I just like don't know who he is. And I have to have this like really dramatic moment when I like turn around and face all like the guests who are there and tell them that like I can't go through with it. The wedding is off. And in one of these dreams, I like go to the microphone and tell everybody, and my grandma starts crying and my mom is mad at me because I've made my grandma cry. And so I was having like a few of these dreams, maybe like 4 or 5. And then I think maybe the last one I ever had was like I was going down the aisle and the same thing happened again where I'm panicking that I don't know this guy that I'm supposed to be marrying right now. And then the photographer who's in front of me taking amazing pictures of me as I walk down the aisle moves out of the way, and like I just have this feeling like I see the guy. He has a face. I get this huge feeling of just like, this is so right. Like, this is the person I'm supposed to marry. This is my soulmate. Like, everything about him, like, resonated with my soul. And it was just like one of the most like powerful feelings I have ever had. And at the time, like, after it happened for a few months, like, I would have be able to tell you what he looks like. I had a very strong visual image of him. He was wearing an orange tie. I would never actually marry someone with an orange tie, so that's the only thing that is off about this guy. And so yeah, that was like one of like the best feelings of my life, was like this dream person that I was marrying. Yeah, I won't say any more because I want you to interpret it.
What does it mean? What does it mean?
I laughed out loud when she's like, I would never marry someone with an orange tie. Just like, let's be clear about this. It was a great feeling, but like, no on the tie. So I definitely know it wasn't totally real.
I laughed a few times. Mallory's hilarious. Like, I don't know anything about this life other than that I will be a beautiful bride. That's so great.
Yeah, you gotta have something for sure.
Yeah, she knows it.
Yeah.
So, a series of wedding dreams. Mm-hmm. And then like a real dream resolution, which I feel like we don't often get. I feel like I'm often, when we listen to these dreams, I'm trying to come up with what would be the resolved version of the dream, you know?
Yeah.
And then she had it. She actually did it.
I know. Wonderful. It's a lucky thing. It's a rare and lucky thing, Mallory.
And she found her soulmate. She knows how it's going to feel.
Yeah. So that's basically what I was going to say about it. It's like, that last dream is just, okay, well, do you want to, what did you think, actually? I feel like I'm too certain.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll say I don't have any seriously formed, opinions other than that when I'm listening to it, it makes me think about, I feel like we've sort of talked about this in other episodes before, particularly in Lizzie's dream about the intersection, the feeling of waiting for something that you have a clear idea of, although we went in a different direction with Lizzie's dream, but it's like you have this idea of where you're supposed to arrive, and you're looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's kind of mounting anxiety each time you think maybe you've landed on it, but then it turns out that it's not it.
Mm-hmm.
And just that sense that, like, I don't know, it made me think about how much energy can be wasted when you're in that phase where you're not hitting it perfectly, feeling like drawing all of these conclusions about the fact that you're never going to get there. And that, you know, it's like the reason why it's not working is because it's a fantasy, the thing that you have in your mind, and it's never going to happen. And then when you finally land on it, you're like, oh, why did I worry? You know, it's like, obviously it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's a common experience. Yeah.
So that's what it made me think of, was that sort of progression where it's like, yeah, it didn't fit because it wasn't right.
Yeah.
Something will fit.
Yeah. And I think that's very, yeah, I think it was this year, the Dreams was very directly that. And I feel like it was even I feel like it was quite literally about, like, I mean, I don't know if she's in a relationship or is interested in getting married for real to somebody at this point or what, but, like, it could literally be about the transition from, like, your childhood fantasies about marriage, which are just straight up about being a beautiful bride and having a lovely ceremony and being with all your family and whatever.
Yeah.
Not even being with all your family, just, like, having a cool dress and the man is irrelevant or a placeholder. Like, I feel like young girls who get fixated on, like, weddings often don't even realize that it's about, like, marrying another person. It's just about, like, having this party with this dress. And you know what the ritual is, but, like...
Yeah. Like, that's there, but it's not the central thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I feel like this... Because, like, there's, at some point in your life, if you are a young girl that grows up with this fantasy, like, there's a certain point where you're like, oh shit, like, maybe I'm not gonna have that fantasy come to life because I haven't found the person that I would marry, and now I realize I actually need to find a person to, like, involve in the fantasy. And that, like, and realizing that, I think, is really stressful.
Uh-huh.
Like, even more stressful for people who have a really fleshed out fantasy of what that wedding is gonna look like.
Yeah, it's like anything where you have a fantasy about some ideal kind of like shell of a thing that you're going to arrive at and it's going to be perfect, and then you start looking at the details and you're like, oh wait, all of these things need to line up, or like I need this and I need this and I need this.
Like, the closer,
and then it starts getting overwhelming.
Yeah, the closer you get to it, like, in time, the more details you can see about it, like, the further it realistically seems away in, like, plausibility. Yeah. And I feel like in our, you know, in this phase of life where you're an adult and you're not necessarily in, like, a solidly coupled situation and you're looking towards, like, a future where you would like to be, that's, like, a super stressful thing to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
how will I ever get there? And, like, then you're gonna, and that produces all these dreams about, like, you're doing the thing, but, like, you don't even know who the person is yet. Right. But I mean,
a thing that's interesting here is that it's not that there's no one there, or that she's like, oh shit, the groom is absent, which could be a version of this, you know, where you're walking down the aisle and then realize that there's no one at the end. Here, there is somebody there in each version. It's just that he doesn't have a face, which in and of itself is just freaky, and she's aware that he's wrong. Yeah, you know, it's like she has to call off the whole situation.
Yeah, it's true. But she also does say that the aisle is really long, and, like, I feel like maybe I'd have to re-listen, but I'm not totally sure that she does necessarily arrive at a faceless man every time. Like, it seems you think she does?
It sounded like other than that last one, she said that she had like 4 or 5 of these where at the end she has to tell people, like, she sees that it's not the right person. She has to tell everyone that she can't go through with it. Her grandma cries. Like,
it's about, like, disappointing everybody as well as disappointing yourself by realizing that this is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until you finally land.
Yeah. And I think it's really nice that her brain, like, I think that maybe it just marks that she'd, like, this is a classic reason to dream, right? You're going through scenarios, you're, like, running through scenarios enough times that you can, like, work out how you should be feeling about it.
Yeah.
Like, running through this scenario that's flawed, you're like, running through the dreams, or running through the wedding scenario, you get to then, you don't know who the man is. Again, don't know who the man is. Again, disappointing everybody, don't know who the man is. And then eventually you're your brain's just no, when this happens, it'll just feel right and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And don't fucking stress about it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice for it to be, I don't know whether she's partnered or not at this point. I don't know if she's with the person who, she's staying with or anything. But it doesn't really matter because it's more the dream is just delivering her into waiting in a way that's more pleasant.
Yeah, totally. It's just you've graduated from this longing for an abstract thing into this existing in a world where the things that you want are going to come to you.
Yeah. And it's kind of nice because that last one does transfer it. Like you said, I think in fantasies about weddings, it's not often about you and the other person. It's just about, the idea of being the center of this whole thing and being beautiful and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the earlier dreams do feel like that's what it's about. She talks about how the photographer, even in the later one, it's the photographer's taking beautiful pictures of her and then moves out of the way. And then in that last one, when the photographer moves out of the way, it suddenly becomes about her and this other person. Because then the rest of the time she's just describing how this person is her soulmate and all the feelings she has about this person and even his bad tie, it's she's describing him at that point and her feelings towards him.
Yeah, you're right. And then, and that, that marks a pretty big change in perspective about what a relationship would be, what the point of a wedding would be,
Yeah. It's really a whole move that happens.
Yeah. It's marking a shift in perspective.
Yeah. It's good.
In a positive way. Love it.
Yeah, and then it leaves you with, she gets left with the best feeling. She said one of the best feelings she's ever had. This is thinking about dreams, I feel like the fact that dreams can deliver us good feelings that we otherwise haven't experienced, that's pretty awesome.
I know it is. It is. And so much of the time we just have these totally horrifying dreams where we have feelings that we have never experienced of absolute horror and losing people that are close to us, etc.
Oh God!
But
that's true.
It can also do the opposite. Make you feel like your life is whole and complete, and you found the person who you are perfectly matched with.
Yeah. So I guess in the balance of things, it would just depend on whether you're a person who has more nightmares or more good dreams and the quality of each, whether you would feel like that was worthwhile or not.
Yeah. But it's cool to remember that it's possible to also have uniquely new positive emotions experienced in dreams as well as just negative ones.
Yeah.
Lucky you, Mallory. It must be nice.
Thank you for listening. Help us keep making this by subscribing to and reviewing the podcast wherever you listen to it, and following and liking us on social media.
If you love this, you can support us on Patreon.
We will reward you.